How do you ensure the so-called bad actors in our society are held accountable for their financial crimes?
How often are you laying charges?
How do we hold these bad actors accountable?
This guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
From the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Chad Babin, Assistant Staff Sergeant for the Federal Police Criminal Operations Financial Crime, and Michael Saghbini, Chief Superintendent, Director General, Federal Police Criminal Operations for the Financial Crimes.
Thank you very much for your remarks, Mr. Saghbini. You brought me back to the days of when I was working in the financial sector, and we know, I think you hit the nail on the head in that these criminals are highly sophisticated. They're very fast. They adapt, and these schemes are highly complex, and they change all the time. And oftentimes, when you take a step back, you think, well, how is the law and the rules ever going to keep up with them, right? Because they're around the world, but at the same time, for the average Canadian who is working incredibly hard and abiding by the rules and paying the taxes, it can be also extremely frustrating to know that not only is the tax code so complicated that only the highly sophisticated, the people that are extremely wealthy to be, and the ones that are able to afford sophisticated lawyers and accountants will be able to find the loopholes and not pay taxes, and that's frustrating to the average Canadian. But my question to you is, what do you see as the biggest risk right now in terms of money laundering, tax evasion, and financial crime? Because it happens all day, every day, and how do we as a country keep up with that?
Thank you for your question, and through you, Mr. Chair. It's very true what you're saying. The organized crime elements are using very sophisticated methods in sheltering their money. They're using cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies are very difficult. They're very difficult to trace in some instances. They're using different types of wallets that are not the typical ones that we would know that are above ground. So it becomes very difficult to have to trace it, and layering of the companies. And sometimes we have lawyers that are named in these companies, and then you've got lawyer clients, solicitor privilege, which also becomes an issue. Some of these lawyers are willingly doing it, some unknowingly doing it. So it becomes a very difficult task from a law enforcement perspective. We are looking at it from the crime. We're not looking at the tax evasion side of the house. That's a CRA mandate. We're looking at the predicate offenses, the drug trafficking that's leading to the money laundering, the frauds, the sophisticated frauds, the large frauds that are the predicate offense that are allowing them to move large funds, across.
What is the biggest risk? Like, what should we as parliamentarians focus on? Because this, like I said, happens all day.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Yeah.
So what is the best way to target?
So maybe I'll pass the question over to Chad. He's in some of the working groups, so he may be able to give you more detailed answer there.
Yes, thank you. One of the larger risks or things that we have to deal with is beneficial ownership. It is a hot button topic for us. Who actually controls or owns certain trusts or corporations? Certain low tax jurisdictions have allow complex setup of trusts or corporate registries, and finding out who the actual owner of those is a challenge for the police, especially when dealing with our international partners in certain jurisdictions.
Yeah. And do you have a sense of the volume of investigations? Like, how many investigations would you typically do in a year?
I do not have that number with me, but I would be happy to provide that after.
Okay. And out of the investigations, just roughly speaking, maybe percentage-wise, how many would be actually convicted?
That I don't know as well. That PPSC would our Crown Council or the courts keep track of that number.
Okay. And I suppose on average, how long would an investigation take?
That's a good question. So some can be rather quick and some can be quite lengthy, years. Even I'll call it a simple financial crime investigation is many months. It's not a week or two thing. But yes, several years in most cases leading up to the charges to go to trial.
Thank you. And how big of a problem do you think is the misuse of offshore tax havens and tax evasion when it comes to financial crime and its impact on Canada's economy and tax system?
Well, the numbers, I don't know exactly how much is in tax havens. I mean, it does have a large impact. I mean, those are, that's revenue that, we don't see or is provided to the government. As we alluded to earlier, the tax evasion side of the house is a CRA mandate where we're looking at the actual crime that's being committed for the money to be procured for them to send it overseas. So we do work in collaboration with CRA, but from a tax evasion perspective, that's totally on their mandate.
Last question, but very quick. How do you ensure the so-called bad actors in our society are held accountable for their financial crimes?
Just a quick answer, please.
I'm sorry?
Quick answer.
Quick answer, yeah. I mean, we're working very diligently. We're trying to, especially with fraud, where, as you mentioned, law-abiding Canadian citizens are being defrauded, et cetera. We are working very hard to hold everybody that is committing these crimes accountable to the highest standard possible. Thank you.
That's around. Next, we have Mr. Sawatsky and Mr. Littell.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for coming in today and also for all of the important work that you do. The Canada Financial Crimes Agency came out in Budget 2025. I was wondering if you could perhaps elaborate on how the RCMP is going to align its financial crime expertise with this new agency so that Canada has a modernized capacity to investigate offshore tax evasion.
Yeah, so obviously it's in its infancy stages, and we're not sure exactly how the agency is going to look. We do know that we'll be part of it. We do have, the expertise in fighting crime when it comes to financial crime. We will be working in close collaboration with this new agency, however it's going to look. And we will provide whatever support we need to provide in order to make this an effective and an efficient agency.
Are there any recommendations you'd have on how to make this most effective?
It's hard to come up with exact recommendations. I just think that anytime you work with different agencies where we can collaborate, where we can share expertise, it's beneficial. I wouldn't say like a joint, kind of like in a joint task force type unit. I think it's very important where we bring all our partners in and be able to collaborate together and work. And I think that would be an ideal situation where we share our expertise and share our resources and share best practices.
Thank you very much.
Do you find that criminal organizations, the ones that you investigate, is it common for them to use tax havens to hide their gains and both to hide, I guess, their gains from the police, but also from law enforcement, but also to avoid taxes?
Yeah, I can start, and then maybe Chad can jump in. Thank you for the question. I do believe, yes, they do use tax havens to hide and launder their money. They also, use the cryptocurrency exchanges as well. That's another piece. But yes, in short answer, yes, they do. I don't know if Chad, if you want to add anything to that.
That's good. That's the answer. Is a good answer or a complete answer. Which leads to my next question. The CRA told us a few weeks ago that they had only referred and had successfully seen through 14 prosecutions for offshore tax avoidance since 2000, so a little less than 3 per year. How many charges have you laid in relation to, let's even go the broadest category of files that you investigate? Like, how often are you laying charges for tax avoidance, or fraud, money laundering, all the things under your...
So there's a distinction there between the predicate offenses and the money laundering, and then just having your money in a tax haven. Having your money in a tax haven on its own, for us, that's a CRA mandate. It's not a crime, right?
I'm asking, so for these predicate offenses, which could be any of a number of things, how often is your department as the senior, so the national organization investigating?
We'd have to get you the statistics if that's what you're looking for. We don't have it on hand. And then I think the important thing to your question, too, if I may ask, is you were talking about prosecutions versus charges?
Yes.
Because that's two different things, right?
I understand, but charges are what you do. That's why I'm asking you about charges.
Exactly. So we can come back with that.
Okay.
We don't have that statistic on hand.
Okay. Let me ask about cooperation with the CRA. So you are investigating predicate offenses. You're leaving just simple people that are taking lawfully earned profits and not paying taxes on it. That's the CRA's issue. But you are dealing with in cases where the profits are not legally gained. Do you find that you have, in your cooperation, are you a net sender or recipient of information with the CRA? I presume you refer files to the CRA.
We do refer to the CRA. The CRA will refer something back to, let's say in an example of they're looking at a tax evasion, simply a tax evasion, and then they come across a criminality that comes with it, then they'll refer it to us. So it's a two-way street. We'll refer either way. And sometimes we would collaborate together. Sometimes we work independent of each other.
I got lots of questions in little time. I want to ask about it's about financial institutions. How do you characterize the level of cooperation you get? And this goes back to, as Ms. Saghbini also said, I have working history in the finance sector, and it always seemed that the banks were reluctant to share information about what goes on in their own shop in fraud cases. Do you find that you get cooperation from the banks? Is it getting better or worse?
So we have great cooperation with the banks. We're the new IMLIP, the Integrated Money Laundering Intelligence Partnership, that was announced. We're working closely with the banks on information sharing. We're in the process of information sharing agreements with the banks to enhance our MLIPs.
You have agreements that are not executed yet, but you're working on them?
Yes, correct.
Okay. One last question. The former finance minister had, goes along with a question we had earlier about legislative steps. I think Mr. McDonald asked about that. So one of the former finance ministers had called for a review of the Proceeds of Crime, Money Laundering, and Terrorist Financing Act. It's overdue for review. It hasn't happened. It doesn't appear to be picked up by the government currently under the new minister. How important is that, and what would you like to see from that review?
Just a quick answer, please.
Yeah.
Reviewing of any legislation and keeping up to date is always important. And with that, any review in our world, information sharing is always a key factor to look at.
Thank you.
In our budget 2025, we introduced a national anti-fraud strategy. And in 2024 alone, we've seen Canadians lose $643 million to fraud. So that was a 300% increase since 2020, with only a small fraction of those scams been reported for investigation. So from the RCMP's perspective, what factors are driving this rapid rise in fraud, particularly the scams that are targeting seniors, and how is your policing adapting to the investigations of this higher technology fraud?
Yeah, so thank you for the question, and through you, Mr. Chair. The issue with these frauds is they're becoming more sophisticated, they're becoming more obfuscated, and in a lot of times it's happening in countries that we don't have relationships with Canadian government, law enforcement, so it makes it extremely difficult. Some of these countries, there's rampant corruption. So if we do deal with the local police, there's nothing's going to come of it. Some instances there potentially the government or police are involved, so it makes it extremely difficult. There's also an education piece, I think, that we need to really push to our seniors, to even our young folks who are on cell phones, and they're moving so fast and they're just clicking and they're not even realizing what they're clicking. Next thing you know, they're in some sort of scam, or now someone's got access to their phone or to their bank account information. So I think education is a big piece for us. But these are really long, drawn out, in some cases they're using, different email servers to obfuscate where they come from. Is it in a country we can't deal with again? So it's sophisticated. The ones that we do find, we are very serious in investigating them, obviously, and prosecuting them. And then that's another thing, is the prosecution side. And when you have something that's so sophisticated, it becomes a very complex case for the Crown, and it gets drawn out. It's a long. With disclosures and dealing with other countries and what they can share and what they can't share. So it becomes a very complicated affair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we got caught off in the last conversation where we were talking about how do we hold these bad actors accountable? Because, of course, the concern is that, we don't have, you don't have the number of investigations or the number of charges. These bad actors may just get a slap on the wrist, or maybe they get charged and there's a fine, and that's the cost of doing business, because it is highly profitable to engage in financial crime and tax avoidance. So can you please speak to how do we hold these bad actors accountable?
So, from a law enforcement perspective, all the complaints that we do receive, obviously we take them very, very seriously. We investigate them, to the capacity and to lay charges. In terms of what happens later, in terms of the court process, in terms of, sentencing, that's outside our scope. But what I can reassure you is when we do receive complaints, we are investigating them to the fullest capability, and we are charging. But again, what happens later, that's kind of out of our purview. But
yeah, if you could submit to the committee the statistics and the data, that'd be great, just to get a sense of the problem. But also, there has been an increase in financial crime. Can you speak to why do you think this is the case? Like, what's driving this increase?
I think part of it, and Chad, you can jump in as well, but I think part of it too is, everything's electronic. Everything's electronic now. Most people are banking electronically. Most people are on their phones, emails. It's easy. You're more easily susceptible to being defrauded just by the mere amount of data and electronics that we use on a daily basis. We've got elderly now that might not necessarily know how to use these technologies. There's AI, there's the deep fakes. Like, we can talk about this for half a day on how much how you can be defrauded. I think it's just because of the technologies today and how they're easily accessible.
Thank you for
or
that.
Exploitable, sorry.
Yeah. And based on your experience, what are the weaknesses in Canada's corporate financial and reporting systems that are most commonly exploited by individuals or corporations using offshore tax havens or financial crime?
A quick answer, please.
Yeah. Do you want to take that one?
Quick answer would be, beneficial ownership and transparency and trusts.
Thank you.